that she never would have mercy on me. And she promised me forever that we'd live a life as one. We made a vow to live a love so true. It seems that she has left me for such reasons unexplained. I need to find the truth, but see, what will I do? And it doesn't seem to matter, and it doesn't seem right. 'Cause the will is gone, no functions. I cry alone at night. Don't you judge over my composure, 'cause I'm bothered every day. And she didn't leave a letter, she just upped and ran away. Who is it? It is a friend of mine. Who is it? Is it my brother? Who is it? Somebody had my soul now. Who is it? I can't take it 'cause I'm lonely. Don't try to make me quit. I never was. Just won't stop.
You say it's all in my head, and the things I think just don't make sense. So where you been then? Don't go all coy. Don't turn it around on me like it's my fault. See, I can see that look in your eyes, the one that shoots at me each and every time. You breaks me with your cold shoulder. Whenever you look at me, I wish I was her. You shower me with words made of knives. Whenever you look at me, I wish I was her.
The problem is all inside your head, she said to me. The answer is easy if you take it logically. I'd like to help you in your struggles to be free. There must be 50 ways to leave your lover. She said it's really not my habit to intrude. And furthermore, I hope my meaning won't be lost or misconstrued. But I'll repeat myself. At the risk of being crude, there must be 50 ways to leave your lover. 50 ways to leave your lover. You just skip out the back, jack. Make a new plan, stand. You don't need to be coy, boy. Just get yourself free. Hop on the bus, 'cause you don't need to discuss much. Just drop off the key, leave, and get yourself free. Won't slip out the back, jack. Make a new plan, stand. You don't need to be coy, boy. Just listen to me. Hop on the bus, 'cause you don't need to discuss much. Just drop off the key, and get yourself free.
Once the love was strong, now it's long, long gone. 'Cause the pain ain't never the song. I remain holding on, 'cause I want you, 'cause I want you, I want you, I want you.
I've been thinking about you lately. Thoughts take me to when we were close. Addicted to your love, feel I need another dose. I know it's a feeling that should be long gone. Things seem to come up when I hear our song. Golden brown girl, it seems so long since I heard your voice. Where did the king go wrong? Emotions that they linger on. I guess cause I never knew a love so strong. So many hot girls, I need your warm. The taste of your mouth, girl, I need your warm. Good food and love, I need your warm. This hit was made before we were born. A dreamer, so I'ma keep dreaming on. It's kinda like the breakup with Jen and Vince Vaughn.
All I want is for you to just show me that you care.
Why didn't you just say that to me?
Gary, I've tried. I've tried.
Never like that. You might have said some things that you meant to imply that, but I'm not a mind reader.
It wouldn't matter. You are who you are.
Stop, Ma, what's the problem? You always complain when this chicks are starving. What type of game is this? I used to support ya, I thought you'd appreciate some of the things that I bought ya. Shoes from Milan, Louis Vuitton, animals on back and jewels on your arm. Mommy is nothing to make moves with a dawn. Loan the big fish, leave them fools in the pond.
Just when I made up my mind, I don't want you at all. You wanna call now? Can you try and tell me what made you choose her as your friend?
Chose a perfect friend, baby.
Just when I think you've given up, it's you again. All I can say, farewell, my lonely one. Nothing else.
Thinking you gon' get you some, smelling like some fragrance that I don't even wear. So if you want some loving, I suggest you go back there where you came from. Day to day with you is always something else, working my nerve. God knows that I don't deserve what you put me through, cause I've been so true to you. For you to come at me with another
to call you on your birthday. You swear you're the last thing on my mind, yeah. There is nothing I can do to fix it. All you ever ask me for was time. When the lights don't glow the same way that they used to, and I finally get a moment to myself, I will realize you were everything I'm missing. And you'll tell me you're in love with someone else. So can you do me a favor? If I pull it together, make it sooner than later. We won't be here forever. And I realize I waited too long. But please don't move on. You don't need no one else. 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 Oh,
just changed your hair and it looks perfect. Wish I was the first to let you know. Every chance I get to make it better, I just find a way to let it go. When the lights don't glow the same way that they used to, and I finally get a moment to myself, I will realize you were everything I'm missing. And you'll tell me you're in love with someone else. So can you do me a favor? If I pull it together, make it sooner than later. We won't be here forever. And I realize I waited too long, but please don't move on. You don't need no one else. 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 Oh, you don't need no one else.
The girl of the world. You say someone gotta lose. I thought I could have it all. Do I really gotta choose? What good is all the cash if it doesn't buy time? And what good is being famous if I'm never on your mind? Night falling, lights glowing, and I'm just trying to pay the price on. And I don't wanna feel the comfort from my ice showing. And I ain't trying to be without you at the right moments. Nigga, night's gone. Is it worth it, that decision? Cause heart's breaking, I ain't trying to be in that collision. So I'ma dust my shirt and fix my pants, cause I better look good, girl, if this my chance, I swear.
So can you
want to hear that? I gotta hear it because I want to help you. Because I want to be what the fuck? What do I got? A fucking sign on my back that says save me? Do I look like I need that?
No, God, I just want to be with you because I love you.
Don't bullshit me. Don't you fucking bullshit me.
I love you. I want to hear you say that you don't love me. Because if you say that, then I won't call you. And I won't be in your life.
I don't love you.
Body like heaven. Met her through the sister of my man Big Vince. Like some shit from out the flicks, we been in love ever since. She called me her chocolate brother, I call her my sugar sister. Knew shorty could work it since before I ever kissed her. I never dissed her, painted my picture to hit. But because sex she wasn't with, she started flipping and shit. Like listen man, I'm Queen Amina. Amina's not no freaking, that game is weakened. Keep trying to hit, I could quit speaking. Tariq, in fact, you being Black Thought, don't get you closer. I dig your butt, won't bone you because I'm so called supposed to. Most of them would, but that couldn't be me, that's not my flavor. Go home and think about that, maybe later on I'll page her. I contemplated and then concluded she was bluffing. Steady pursuing, screwing, getting nothing but the silent treatment.
Girl, you know that you need to stop giving me the silent treatment,
Listen, I hear what you're saying. You gotta hear me. All I know is that I need a space. I don't know what's gonna happen. Maybe eventually, who knows? Nobody knows. But right now, I need you to give me that space.
Fine. I want to do that. I want to give you all the space you need. I don't want you to break up with me.
I have to go now.
Please, will you not leave me here like this? Will you just stay and will you talk to me a little bit?
I can't.
Here we are, still together. We are one. So much time wasted playing games with love. So many tears I've cried, so much pain inside. But baby, it ain't over till it's over. So many games we tried. Ruling the way that I move, and I breathe your air. You only can rescue me. This is my prayer. If you are mine, if you are mine, I wouldn't want to go to heaven. Cherish the day, I won't go astray. I won't be afraid, won't catch me running. You're ruling the way that I move. You take my hand. You show me how deep love can be. I've gotta take a little time to think things over. I better read between the lines in case I need it when I'm older. Now this mountain I must climb feels like the world upon my shoulder. But through the clouds I see love shine. It keeps me good friend to the heart and mind. Ignorance is kind, but there's no comfort in the truth. Pain is the heart you find. Should've known better, yeah. I feel so unsure as I take your hand and lead you to the dance floor. As the music dies, something in your eyes calls to mind a silver screen and all its sad goodbye. I'm never gonna dance again. Guilty feet have got no rhythm. Though it's easy to pretend, I know you're not a fool. Should've known better to cheat a friend. A wasted chance I had
It took a second to register up in my brainium, my dome, my head, my skull, my cranium. My eyes had had enough, it was time to do some talking. I had to creep through the hound dogs that was stalking. The slimmy caught me peeping. This means she wasn't sleeping on who I was. So she creeped in like a hawk in a minute's time. We adjourned to the floor. Ooh, I hit a high note because of the way that she was walking. We got into the groove. I didn't bust no hip-hop moves. I just kept it nice and smooth. Next thing you know, we got together. Word I thought we'd be forever. Didn't have an umbrella. Now I'm soaking stormy weather. Weather two birds of a feather. Fly up all to be together. Never simping. And leave your
I am Thor, son of Odin, and as long as there is life in my breast, I am running out of things to say.
Great, another broken white boy for us to fix.
That's my secret, Cat. I'm always angry.
You took everything from me.
I don't even know who you are. With great power comes great responsibility. I can do this all day. Wakanda forever!
And welcome, Internet, to another episode of Views from the 616, the blackest MCU podcast in the multiverse, powered by For All Nerds, where we discuss everything in the MCU from the perspective of people of color. And it is one of your hosts, Tatiana King, a.k.a. The Life and Times of Sharon Carter, a.k.a. A.R. Lord, a.k.a. T'Challa Bread, a.k.a. Tesseract Thompson, Ravonna Renfleya, Captain America, LaWanda Vision, and the Wicked Witch of the West View.
LaWanda Vision, though?
I have to bring that one back. And I am joined by my beautiful co-host in all his purple Black Panther glory.
That's right. It's your boy, DJ Ben Amin, a.k.a. the Brother Voodoo Child, a.k.a. Black Adam Warlock, a.k.a. Liddy Stark, a.k.a. Off-White Panther, the Power Toker, John. Oh, walk it out, walk it out, walk it out.
Hey, and
Hank
we are...
Grimm. You gotta let me get in Hank Grimm. Sad Titan.
I'm sorry, I forgot about that one of my favorite ones.
Yep. There we go.
All right, and we are back to discuss episode 6 of What If, titled What If Killmonger Rescued Tony Stark?
Mm-hmm.
Dun, dun, dun!
Womp, womp, womp.
Oh, was this a womp womp for you?
I mean, no, this was a great episode. I mean,
Okay,
it was just a womp womp. It was a womp womp for several people involved in this episode. Yeah.
Big L for several people involved in this episode, and we'll get right into that. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We appreciate you so much. Thank you to everyone who is in the Twitch right now. Twitch.tv/forallnerds. We see you. We salute you. You know what it is. If you are in the Twitch and you are having it, getting it popping in there, we are going to drop some free subscriptions. So make sure you're in there. If you feel like there needs to be more of a party, get more people in the room. Let's go. Let's do that. Make sure you're also subscribed to us on your favorite podcast platform. Otherwise, you wouldn't be listening to us right now, right? For all nerds on your favorite podcast platform to listen to views from the 616. As usual, we got to get started with our favorite segment, the themes of the episode. As always, we have to start with the most important theme, which is what is that single choice, that Nexus event, that step or misstep that's been taken to completely change the course of history. In this episode, which actually plays along everything that happened in the first Iron Man film.
Yep, pretty much.
Instead of Tony Stark getting exploded on by his own bomb and then having shrapnel enter his chest and thus start traveling towards his heart at ludicrous speed, instead of any of that happening, we actually have Killmonger, Lieutenant Navy SEAL or Navy SEAL Lieutenant Eric Stevens. He ends up actually showing up, throwing the bomb away and rescuing Tony Stark. So this prevents Tony from being even injured or captured in the first place.
And also prevents his heart getting injured, which would lead him to shrink the arc reactor to save his heart and thus creating the Iron Man suit. And also needing to create the Iron Man suit so he can escape. Because he doesn't have that, no Iron Man in this reality.
And in this reality, Killmonger, as lie number 1 of 2000 goes, he says that he was under deep cover within the 10 rings when he discovered a plot to assassinate Tony. And as he reveals that this plot to assassinate Tony was all orchestrated by Obadiah Stane, who we see later in this we see in many parts of this episode, and we also see very prominently in Iron Man 1, the first film.
Yeah, and that was also taken from Iron Man 1. And some people have also been like, that's a little much, because it's like Obadiah. It was good.
Why is that much?
Because, all right, one, when you coming from the comics again, Obadiah Stane is a great character, and he's part of this long arc over the comics where he breaks this man down and steals everything from him to the point where Stark International, there's a shot in the comics, a panel where they're taking Stark off and he's putting Stane on that joint. Like, hold that L, son.
Wow. So
yeah,
he's
it became Stane International.
So he's a bigger boss than even in the film in the comics.
Well, he drives Tony into alcoholism, and this is that
He's the one that starts drunk ass Tony.
Well, no, Tony is already a drunk from the beginning of the series, but this is when he falls into it because he loses all hope. And this is that series that I grew up on where I've talked about before, where at one point the first issue I ever read, Tony is in a blizzard and still trying to get drunk. Like literally in a blizzard in New York. Within death's door, and he out here trying to get the drink. So just
the drink.
Yeah. So just to add Obadiah, where he's this mastermind who also is influencing that sect of the 10 Rings out in the desert is a little much when him just being a jealous businessman who's smart enough to outwit Tony.
I thought you were
more
about
than
to
enough story.
I thought you were about to call him a jealous bitch, which he is.
No.
In the film and in this, but I legitimately thought you were about to call him a jealous bitch. But
no, he's just a jealous businessman. But I mean, that works too,
Okay.
Tony Stark built that in the cave with a box of scraps. Come on, man. Like, yeah.
Are you fucking hating ass bitch?
I mean, that was actually paying him a lot of tribute, like he built in a cave with a box of scraps. Like, it's genius.
So Ben, I don't know if your memory recalls, but was it, in the first Iron Man film, was it 10 Rings even part of this? I mean, obviously, this is, as we learn from some later movies, that I'm going to say which ones, as we learn from later movies, that 10 Rings isn't what they make it out to be in the early MCU movies. It's actually just a cover for something else. But in the first Iron Man movie, they were in Afghanistan when all this went down. Same thing in this episode. But was it really the 10 Rings behind everything, as they said in this episode?
I swear one of the dudes has a tattoo of a ring on him, but I'm not sure if that's in the third Iron Man when the concept really fully forms.
That's what I'm thinking.
Or if they did start it that early, because Mandarin is a classic villain of Iron Man. So as soon as you announce an Iron Man film, any comic fan is to be like, all right, where's the Mandarin?
Okay.
Yeah, that's just how it's going to go down. So it might have been there from the jump.
Got it. And this one change, this one step in history that was different from the rest, or as the Watcher says, every journey has a beginning, but one change on a step along the way, and you could end up at a very different destination. Well, the destination here is kind of directly, indirectly. Tony Stark facilitates war, okay? And that's kind of like, and so what? That's what Tony does. And if you really think about it, he is an arms dealer. That's kind of his MO. But a war that shouldn't have happened. How about that?
I mean, like,
I don't know if
there's
you're
a war
still gonna
that
give him
should have
credit,
happened. No, I'm not giving him any
It
credit.
depends on what side you're on, right? Or depends on what side of the fence you're on, right? Should this war have happened? Should it not have happened? By this war, I'm talking about this war between the U.S. and Wakanda.
I can't think of any war in the U.S.'s history that should have happened.
There it is.
I mean, the Civil War,
Besides that.
No, I don't even agree with that because that shit was
Okay.
some bullshit, and it wasn't fought over slaves. It wasn't like they was
Definitely
like,
was not about the
it's like, it's not like, let's free these Negroes. No, that was not what was happening. So, nope, that was some bullshit too.
Is Killmonger saying let's free these Negroes? Yes and
in
no.
a way,
Yes and no.
but he's also like, let me catch some bodies of Negroes on the way too. Like you can't make an omelet. You know what I mean? That's Killmonger out there. Like, what? You want this gourmet omelet? You know what I mean?
Oh, he has
You know what I
every
mean? You gotta break some
ethnicity.
Wakandan eggs,
Every ethnicity is in that omelet, by the way.
I mean, that man has a
Every
lot of stars.
nation is in that omelet.
It seems to be pretty equal opportunity for whoever gets streets need a body.
It's a well-seasoned omelet with
That man is
Laurie's
feeding them streets, boy.
and Old Bay.
When Killmonger rolls up, streets need a
Mitch.
body, boy.
Yeah, man. So let's get into the next part, which is the MCU film parallels. I already mentioned that this episode very closely follows the themes and then really sometimes word for word the script of the first Iron Man film, including again in that intro scene and that dialogue with Tony and the Humvee talking with the officers or the soldiers, where they're in Kunar province in Afghanistan and then they get ambushed. That whole thing about, he doing a peace sign and Tony's like, oh, put on them gang signs, which again is the whole commentary on Tony and how he felt about peace at that time. You see in the film, Tony, it's so funny when Tony ends up getting rescued at the very end of that Afghanistan stuff by Rhodey, he actually puts up a peace sign. Because it's just like, at that point, he's clearly gone down the dark path, right? The dark path of realizing that the error of his ways. And then we see him come out of that, putting on a press conference and saying, yo, Stark Industries is done making bombs, essentially. We're done making weapons.
Yep. And I mean, when you just mentioned it, but that intro of Tony Stark and the first Iron Man, I mean, they had so much writing on them. And I'm not sure who the writer of that. I know Jon Favreau is the director. I'm not sure if he wrote the script as well. But that shit is legendary intro of a character because it intros Tony Stark and gets you to know exactly who he is with his interactions with these soldiers in less than a minute. Right away, you're loving it. Right away, if Robert Downey Jr. encapsulates it so well. And I remember from the trailer, because they show that scene in the trailer, and you're like, oh, like any comic fan is like, oh shit, he got it.
Yeah.
Immediately. You're like, oh my God, that's Tony Stark on screen.
It reminded me of the old Iron Man cartoons that
Yep.
would come on like in syndication, like late 90s. Like I would be all over that stuff. That's how I learned about Tony Stark Iron Man and knew about him being a drunkard and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Commands was slizzard in animation.
Yeah, he's
out.
He's slizzard in any media. I mean, even in they allude to it and they went down the road a little bit in like 2 and 3 of Iron Man, especially in 2. He's getting slizzard in 2. But it's a Marvel film and they could never get that dark.
Well, they didn't give a fuck in the animation, man.
Yeah, and then they didn't get that dark. I mean, they went that dark and murked them, so
Ooh, true.
Yeesh. Yeah.
Yeesh.
Yeah.
So I just gave you the rundown.
No need to have that whole alcoholism story.
Even though it's so important, but whatever.
I mean, streets needed a body.
Oh.
You're not on Power yet, are you? The new Power?
No, listen,
Okay.
I'm not. We're
Don't
not
worry
going
about
down
it.
that path. But
Yeah.
so I just explained how in the film, in the Iron Man's film, how Tony and also the Watcher echoes this, right? Like heroes are born of the darkness and all this other stuff. And that's how Tony, not to say he became this goody two shoes all of a sudden, but that's how he went towards the path of righteousness, with evil beset on all sides and all that, But
no, I mean that's oh God. No, but that's another great like moment and great script writing is Tony escaping in the suit and then crash landing in the desert, and that's why you see it referenced again in Marvel with
Yes.
Loki crash landing, because in that very opening scene of him doing all this stuff, it's like it's a whole movie arc in and of itself. And that's the end of the movie right there. Is Tony crashing in the desert. You know, he's changed. He's become this new person. And if you ended the movie with him saying Stark needs to, you know, whoop, 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 and they just made that whole segment longer, you could have had a full Iron Man movie right there.
Absolutely.
Yep.
However, in this What's If episode, none
Not
of
so
that shit
much.
happens. Because, and it's so interesting. I want to know what I understand now, but just in the planning stages, what was the impetus to say, let it be Killmonger, let it be Eric Stevens who saves him? Because the far-ranging implications of him saving Tony, besides with it eventually basically leading up to Iron Man never even existing, the Mark One armor never even being built, no reason for Tony, or maybe not no reason, but he doesn't come to terms to the reason of building a mini arc reactor, and so on and so forth. None of that shit happens.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, Ben, like this was the intro to the MCU, bro. Like as we know it. All respect paid to Blade. We just FYI, all respect paid to Blade, but we're just talking about this current iteration of the MCU. And like without that huge foundational point, the entirety goes out the window.
You know what? I can't wait for the Blade series, and they make references to Wesley Snipes.
Oh,
and
man.
all these like you know, people are like, Blade's not put, and it's just gonna end it right there. Just like how, you know, the whole Tobey Maguire and everybody is about to
He's
be
not
part
really
of.
part of the MCU.
Yeah, you know, that's all the Spider-Men are about to be in it. You think they ain't gonna bring that old Blade? Marvel don't miss no dollars.
Yeah.
So yeah, this basically changes everything. And like we said, it's because Tony doesn't get injured. Because of that, he doesn't need Iron Man armor. So et cetera, et cetera. Now, whether or not Thor, all of them still show up on Earth in this reality, you know, probably so. But at the same time, they're gonna have this Wakandan Empire to deal with. So it's a different, you know, it's a whole different world.
I think it's also important to note that because Eric got him, he also didn't get captured. Because being captured, he was also tortured. If you remember in the first Iron Man movie.
Oh, yeah.
So that has psychological toll on you. And then, obviously the fact that because he was captured, that doctor worked on him and put in that bootleg arc reactor for him. It was really an electromagnet that was hooked up to a car battery. So just that experience alone, and then having to fight for your life, you know, that definitely changed him. That changed many things within him.
Well, in this, you see a man go fast and furious on a bomb, you know, grabbing a bomb and throwing it through the sky.
It was so convenient, wasn't it? And that's why I'm like, how the fuck did all y'all keep falling for it? It was everything that happened.
Yeah, but
in this
like
episode was so fucking convenient for Killmonger.
But you saw a human being go fast and furious. Like in the Fast and Furious, the Rock changes the torpedo's path with his hands. Like after that, I'm be like, fuck it. Whatever this man needs, let's do it. You know,
let's follow this man.
Yeah, let's do it. Like man's just threw a rocket.
Well, in the moment, sure, but then it's like down the line, it's like, why is everything aligning to exactly your specifications, sir? It just seems a little suspicious, but
yeah, but he's quite charming.
He is quite charming. You know, he's nice to look at.
Yeah, like
he took off his shirt. I said, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
You know,
look at all those bodies.
Kind of forgot you don't give a fuck about, you know, grandmas and stuff. Forgot about that part. You know, you just be killing niggas left and right.
I mean, could you really get down with that? Like when he tells you that every, you know, one is a body? Is the muscles and smile enough? Wow, yeah. By that answer,
sometimes toxicity. I mean, sometimes we all like ourselves a toxic nigga. I'm just saying.
Man, I chose the wrong path younger in life sometimes. Way too nice.
Also,
should have been choking some grandmas out here.
This is somewhat, and we mentioned this in the very first What If review for episode 1, but this is also technically an Easter egg. But this version of the Mark I suit, you see a similar one used by Steve Rogers in episode 1 of What If, when in fact in his timeline he essentially becomes Iron Man. So
yeah,
just wanted to mention that. Also in film parallels, besides the first Iron Man film, we also have Endgame. There is a quick scene, and also which one? Loki. Which one's the one with Loki? The one Loki just first shows up.
Avengers.
Okay, so just Avengers. Okay, Avengers and Loki. When they do the traditional full round robin shot of all the Avengers in a circle, and also the shot in Endgame when Tony wears the Iron Man gauntlet, as I'm calling it, and does his snap to end up defeating Thanos. They played those scenes again in this What If episode.
Yeah, that was just showing what would have happened, basically.
Yeah.
And this ain't what's gonna
Um,
happen.
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, like in the film, in the Iron Man film, Tony held a press conference to tell everybody, look, after his ordeal, he's like, we're done with these weapons. I see what they're doing to the planet, to my brothers and sisters, yada, yada, yada. In this episode, all this whole experience just pushes him to be a bigger asshole. So he pledges to be a bigger and better arms dealer and then hires Killmonger as Stark Industries' new security officer, which then like a day later, maybe 12 hours later, it leads to him saying, you know what? I want him to be my COO.
My man just said "Nuck if you buck." He just should have played "Nuck if you buck" at that press conference and walked out. Him and Killmonger.
I was just like, there are like besties already. How did we get here?
Because people tried to kill them and Killmonger kept, serving them. Like, that's gonna make you besties. Happy wasn't doing nothing.
Funny enough, this still gave me roadie vibes. Like, the whole give me back my roadie shit, like that whole possession of a black bestie.
we know
it still
Tony
gave me that vibe.
Loves having himself a black friend,
Jesus.
Yeah, we know this,
Oh God.
Yeah. Having as an ownership.
I'm laughing, but it's true.
Yeah.
Another MCU film
Give me
parallel.
back my roadie. Like, come on, man. Like,
Another
who wrote
MCU
that shit? Like,
film parallel is the Black Panther film, the Black Panther. One thing I wanted to say is what's so interesting, and it reminds me of the concept of an absolute point, which now is like kind of a debatable thing within the MCU writers world. But the idea of an absolute point, as we learned in the Stephen Strange episode, there's just certain things that happen in time that you cannot change. I also, with this thinking, I think there are absolute characters, and Killmonger feels like this one of them, because even in this timeline, this nigga is not straying from his path, okay?
but the thing about that is Killmonger's path in life is started so early that unless something changes where his father doesn't get killed while he's sitting outside, allegedly by gang violence, but it's not. This is still the same story. His father still gets killed by his uncle. That's why he comes for revenge. The gang violence that he's saying is the gang violence between his father.
Wakanda.
Yeah, that's not no gang violence. He just making that sounds good to Tony once again. That's Tony like, oh, look at this Negro.
Oh, that's him. Let me give the kid $1 a day to help feed the 100
children. His parents were killed by gang violence, and he still brought himself up through MIT. Like, no, that wasn't. No,
he's playing the white savior.
Yeah, like they even showed the same shot of him sitting on the, outside on the basketball court. Too short playing. That's the thing. That happened so early in his life.
Right.
So until we see the what if, his parents didn't die, because that's Killmonger's origin story right there. That's his absolute point.
Right.
Is his dad getting murked.
Okay, this is true. And
I mean, Batman doesn't stop being Batman. Niggas never call Batman out for being, like, his parents always get murked.
If his parents don't get killed, then
he's just Bruce Wayne. Yeah, he just chills.
Billionaire playboy.
Fucking Jeff Bezos. No, I mean, he'd be as bad as him, so yeah.
He's not. You can't call him a playboy. He's not cute.
Yeah,
but anyway.
True. I mean, none of them dudes are. It's like, who is a billionaire playboy? Right. Jay-Z?
No, we're not doing this. Also, parallels. Let's continue on the parallels to the Black Panther film. Like in the film, Killmonger is working with Claw, at least in the beginning, but he double crosses Claw like he did in the film. And that's all used to infiltrate Wakanda. His intro, Killmonger's intro to, in this case, to the Dora Milaje, he intros himself as Ndjaka, son of Njobu, nephew to the throne, yada yamin. And like I said, it's just a continuation of Killmonger's vibe. Like, off camera, but off air, Ben, I explained to you that I felt like the character of Killmonger is Hotep adjacent. Now, I say that because I don't find him to be straight up Hotep. Like, that's just, you're really saying ridiculous things that are still born from the patriarchy and in many ways stemming from white supremacy. It's just the things that Killmonger's saying, some of that stuff I agree with, but then it's also like the way he delivers it is like, ooh, you're sounding really close to Dr. Umar. So, you know, he still have that vibe going in this What's This episode.
I think that's because I don't want to call Dr. Umar this, but maybe that's the vibe you get from him, is that everything him and Killmonger both are doing. Well, like I said, I don't know what that man's doing, but what Killmonger is
marrying
doing.
2 women right now, but okay.
2? Word?
Listen, continue. We gotta keep going. We gotta keep going.
I saw the clip, but I didn't know it was 2 at the same.
Stop here.
What a boss. You got 2 to believe that shit? Amazing. Oh, man.
Please.
Anyway, what Killmonger does and why everything rings false and hollow from him is because it's all for self. I'll tell you, when my man screamed Wakanda forever, I was like,
oh, that shit was mad fake, you fake ass bitch. Like, that shit was wild fake. I was like, Michael B. Jordan is a much better actor than I give him credit for, because like that, the way he delivered that fakeness was incredible. And then for a second I felt like Ramonda even felt the fake shit. Like,
yeah.
Nigga, this is cat. Like, the way she looked at that nigga, like,
and then she was like, nah,
really
for T'Challa, you know, because she know what happened there. See, that's the thing, you know.
Yeah.
She know, a mother know.
But like you said, everything Killmonger does is for self, right? Everything he does is a means to an end. Everything he says and does. Mm-hmm. And everything as we see has been meticulously lined up by him. Everything. I mentioned Obadiah orchestrating shit. No, this nigga is the conductor. He orchestrates literally everything that happens in this episode.
He was also, I saw somebody else make this reference and I didn't understand it till you were just talking. He was straight up Palpatine-ish. Emperor Palpatine. Because he was like comedically evil in people's faces, you know, like bending over in front of him and like
he was doing the mustache.
Yeah, I mean, he's like bowing down in front of somebody, and while I'm looking at the ground, it's like
I'm stealing out your purse, mother. Like right in the face, bro.
And it was just like Emperor Palpatine, because it's like, for me, when I saw the prequels, that was something, because I'd already known who he's returning to. I was like, don't y'all realize this nigga's standing right there? Like
hiding in plain sight. And it's like, to me, he wasn't even trying to hide that shit. Like, it was kind of super fucking obvious. But like you said, he deals with emotional warfare as well. He uses emotions and the things tied to emotion, i.e. saving your fucking life, or making it appear like he's saving your life.
He did save Tony's life.
Or so he says. So in order
he threw the bomb over there in the first
that
place?
Nigga tossed that bomb over there. And don't tell IDC. I don't care.
I would believe it.
He tossed the fucker and then ran over there and threw it back like, like, I got you, son. Like, no, you did this, sir.
Nigga caught his own pass.
He caught his own rebound. Like, get the fuck out of here, bro. You fucking lying ass bitch. Anyway.
He's trying to go for the triple-double and threw the ball at his own goal. I got a rebound, right?
Now, yes, I'm a viewer. I can say this from outside of the fishbowl, right? I say that in the vacuum, like, I see all your lies, Killmonger. But it's just, again, I also feel energies, and some of the facial expressions he was making, I was like, nigga, you lying, which is probably why Shuri was like, something ain't right, son, by the end. But we're going to get to that in a minute. Mm-hmm. Let's go into the next theme, which is heroes live long enough to see themselves become the villain and vice versa. So right in the beginning, I just called it like Tony was very clearly being manipulated by Killmonger. And because as we said in the beginning, we don't see that development, at least that opening stage of development of Tony. He doesn't go down the path of Iron Man. He just continues down his billionaire playboy path. And he essentially starts doing villainous adjacent shit.
Yeah, that's because he was already doing villainous adjacent shit. It wasn't.
This is facts. This is facts.
He just turned it up. That's all it was.
You're right. He was on number 5. He turned it up to 11. Like,
yeah, that's all it was. He was like, word.
The fact
I got a nigga throwing bombs now. No, we going to damn.
The fact that when basically Killmonger manipulated him into Tony into creating his liberator units. And he was, and again, just the way he talked, I'm just like, just the way Killmonger talks, like, you don't feel the cat, like, you don't feel that this is, I don't know, but the way he was.
Look, you said you would ignore the stars if he took his shirt off. So come on now.
I didn't say I was ignoring it. I just said, I might comment on it and keep it pushing. That's what I meant. But I was still understanding he's lying to me. I was still he's
You
lying
got him all
to
arranged
me.
so well.
So we see Tony doing extra villainous shit, like agreeing to set up time and partner with Ulysses Claw.
But once again, this is not extra villainous shit. Tony in the films has met Ulysses Claw before. When he's first introduced, he's like, "Oh, I knew him. I met him at they have conventions for arms dealers."
Ulysses Claw is a bullshitter, and he knows he's fucked up for that.
Yeah,
and even Pepper's like, "Bro, no."
But the thing is, this is it ain't nothing new for Tony. Tony is
he
an
don't
arms
listen.
dealer.
Tony don't listen.
No, he's an arms dealer. Let's get back to that part.
He's an arms dealer at the end of the day. You're right.
It's not about not listening. He don't do that either. It's like he's an arms And no, what Tony does do, and like all people in the MCU, is listen to their POC friend.
Ugh.
And in this case, Killmonger just outshined Rhodey. I mean, Rhodey take his shirt off, it ain't the same reaction.
It is not the same reaction. You're absolutely right.
And Don Cheadle's cut up, but it ain't the same.
I was trying to get the visuals. Okay, I want to mention that later in the
cut, boy, Don Cheadle cut.
I'm like, what?
I ain't testing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Later in the episode, and I found this to be hilarious. Killmonger is speaking of Tony, this time in the past tense, and he says that man was a villain, didn't trust anyone, and I died laughing on that because really Killmonger was fucking talking about himself, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
But also, it is indicative of Tony and what you just said of how Tony really lived his fucking life, right? Like, regardless of the good suggestions or thoughts or ideas from Pepper and this person and that person, even Jarvis, the AI, like, he just did what the fuck he wanted to do. He doesn't really trust anyone else's judgment or intelligence and so on and so forth.
None of that. That man's a villain.
Damn. And I know you love to say that, Ben. This goes right into your commentary about Tony.
Yeah, I mean, Tony, especially out of the Avengers, is one of those characters who does not change until pretty much Endgame. Like, it is a long, slow change to become a selfless person.
Yeah, it is.
It's in Iron Man 3, by the end of the trilogy, he's well on the way. Because Iron Man 3, him and Pepper are together. He's willing to risk his life for Pepper. There's a lot of moments that in Iron Man, that's why I love 3 so much, because it's like the one where it finally happens. Because 1 and 2 tread water, especially 2. 2 just treads water. And then even like after the Avengers, you see the effects in Iron Man 3 of him, almost sacrificing his own life. And that like changes him as a person. So he has to go through a lot. And then a lot of his life is spent preparing for what he thinks is coming. And he's right. That's why he builds Ultron. That's why he does all these things that I consider kind of villainous. But as we've seen from What If, the alternative is even worse in most cases.
What did He Who Remains says? There are worse versions of me, my nigga.
Yeah, and that's the same thing. Like, there are definitely worse versions of not even Tony, but like Thanos. If Tony wasn't being the futurist, Thanos would have ran through and got all the stones, no problem.
He would have ran through. You right?
Yeah, and then there's no Tony to make time travel to actually, do everything that happens in Endgame.
Right. Well, this version of Tony definitely does not care about the children because
he don't grow.
At one point, when they're working on the Liberator mecha, they're trying to figure out the power source, and Tony, for a brief second, he posits the idea of, maybe we could miniaturize an arc reactor. In the Iron Man film, the whole idea of building the arc reactor in the first place, they said was to shut the hippies up, or as Obadiah Stane says, to shut the hippies up. But it was supposed to be like a self-sustaining power source for, third world countries, the poor, et cetera, et cetera. So this idea of something that could potentially be used for good, he just throws away and dismisses it as a dumb idea in this episode.
Yes, because he hasn't grown. It's all about the money.
Yeah.
Don't be blowing me up. If it ain't about the money.
And that said, this theme about heroes living long enough to see themselves become the villain, also the pretend hero becoming the villain becoming the hero, all that stuff was going back and forth, particularly with Killmonger. Even though everything was orchestrated by him, he appeared or made himself appear as a hero. He made himself appear as a hero to the US, also appear as a hero to Wakanda, even though he was behind it all. And that was how he was able, along with, emotional warfare I mentioned, he was able to really infiltrate each and every one of these groups and really stay true to his own commentary that he's the villain and he doesn't trust anyone.
Yeah. I mean,
so we get, as I said, we get it just a place where we're just at perpetual war. Now, we know from the Black Panther film, Killmonger's whole thing is he wants Wakanda to go out there and free all the brothers and sisters of the world.
No,
right?
he doesn't.
That's what he says.
That's
But
not
what does he really
wants.
want?
Revenge. It's what he wants in this.
Revenge.
Yes, it's always about revenge for anyone he feels slights him. That's all it's about. It's about having an empire at your back so that you can go out and get revenge on anyone you feel slights him.
Revenge. I want, that old James Brown song. I want revenge.
Yeah, like if now what will happen is if he can free some black people in the U.S. at the same time, but what if those black people don't want to be freed? He's gonna lay it down on them.
He gonna be like, you're gonna be free the way I want y'all niggas to be.
Or y'all gonna be dead.
Oh, you gonna take this freedom, my guy. Like,
yeah, or you gonna take this bullet. You know what I mean? It's one or the other. Yeah, and that's the thing. He has no reservations about killing anyone to get what he wants. So that's why he's not about anything he talks about. He's just about self. And he never has a chance to grow. Like, I've already seen people commenting on it and talk about how Nakia isn't in this episode. And that's
not.
Now, there's two reasons for that. One, this episode takes place at a time when Nakia is still running around with the war dogs, the people who work with Wakanda as like spies and shit all around the world. So Nakia's out doing dirt right now.
Well, shouldn't she have then showed up at that Claw meeting? Because Claw said during this meeting that in this episode that the reason why Wakanda, what did he say? The reason why the Dora even showed up, or Black Panther really even showed up, because he alerted the war dogs that this deal was going down. This was part of Killmonger's plan to lure Black Panther there so he could kill him, as we find out.
Yeah, well, I mean, she's still a spy. She's not. That's the thing. Nakia is the spy. She's not a warrior.
So
she's
she
not
wouldn't have
gonna
been there
show up.
either,
Yeah, she ain't gonna show up to fight anywhere. That's what she says in the movie. I'm not one of the door, and they're like, "Well, you are. You're gonna have to deal with this fight now." But she's a spy and like all that. But Nakia is also usually the voice of reason, and we've been telling y'all from the gate that Nakia was right, because Nakia is the one who says, who has the middle ground between T'Challa and Killmonger, between T'Challa and Eric.
Yeah.
But in this, there is no Nakia because she's too young, and Shuri becomes that voice of reason in this.
Yes.
Like she is usually in the comics as well, because Nakia isn't as much a prominent character, I think, until recently, and Shuri has always been there, especially in Ta-Nehisi's run, where she just shines. So
did they and first of all, Black women and girls, I just want to say that line, but in this episode, did they age down Shuri?
Yes, considerably.
Okay, because I didn't know whether they were just trying to do a young interpretation of her, or because in the movie, in the film, she seems like, she's 19 or something like that, whereas here it was like she was 14 or something. Or
well, you got to remember, like
younger.
A lot of time passes in the MCU. Like in between certain films, like I think from Iron Man to Avengers is like 5 years in the MCU. There's like mad time, and in certain ones it'll be like a year happens. Like, I know, like from Avengers to Age of Ultron, there's a few years in there because the Avengers have been together for a few years after Avengers doing mad shit.
So if this took place during during what would have happened in the first Iron Man film, then
Yeah,
she's
she's like
younger.
5 years younger. Yeah,
Yeah.
super young. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. And like you said, put it on a Black woman that realized the truth, seeing what's going on. She discovers what happened at the end of this episode. Discovers what really happened. Killmonger's plan. So she links up with the white woman. She links up with Pepper Pot to try to rectify things. And this also feeds into another line that the Watcher says about heroes are never really gone. They live forever, as are the ones that they are the ones that inspire others to carry on the fight. And that's how you see happening with Shuri, what you see happening with Pepper. If this episode was to continue into another episode, it won't, I don't know. But if it was, like, what would you see? Would you even see Pepper like in that rescue armor? Would you see Shuri doing some stuff? Would you see her as like the Ironheart type situation? Like, what do you think you would see?
I think Shuri would Well, I mean, Wakanda, she can't get none of that
Nah.
herb or none of that. So yeah, it would. I think it'd be like something where you would see Shuri becoming Ironheart because she would be like, okay, what's Tony's tech? What can I use? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
the arc reactor. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
woo woo woo. I can shrink that shit down. Da da
Yeah.
da da. Boom.
Because she's the one who got into Jarvis, I presume, and Tony's files to find out all this information. Because that was what she saw was, I believe, a recording of the
Hmm.
the deal that went bad, quote
Yep.
unquote. So
She also in the actual MCU gives Tony the nanotech that she used for Black Panther suit, and that's why Tony has the nanotech inspired suit in Endgame. Yeah,
okay,
that's actual canon. That comes from this reference book about Black Panther.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the implications and other stuff theme that we find out with this. So again, the shirtless Killmonger versus the Stark Liberator drone Mark One. He resoundingly, handily wins over the drone. I'm like, it is of his own creation. He did come up with this, as he says in his thesis.
That
Once again, is this nigga lying? Did he really have a thesis, or is this just something he just? Everything is fucking staged with Killmonger. So like, yeah, he went to MIT and shit, but this was just all something he just threw in these different systems just so it worked on his plan, right?
No, I mean it's just all planning. Like if you gonna go to MIT, and you want to have revenge, what's your thesis gonna be?
Like
On
he
a
played the
revenge?
long game, is what you telling me?
Yeah.
The dumb long game.
This shit is Batman levels. This is, that's the thing. Batman, Killmonger are very alike characters. Characters who have their parents taking them from a very young age. Characters who are brilliant, driven people. So they are like immediately from when their parents die, they're like, okay, this is what I'm doing. And that's it.
And sticking to it.
And sticking to it. And
Kinda
that's
like-
Killmonger.
Kind of like Sylvie in Loki.
Yeah. Very brilliant, driven people. And that's the other thing about another time reference is the shirtless Killmonger. Because he doesn't have near as many rows of stars as he did in Black Panther. Because he's much younger in this film. 4 or 5 years younger when he makes his move. So he hasn't added those bodies. And I think we talked about this before, but it's really hilarious to me how needy he is with it. Like, what I mean? My man just, another one. Oh, yeah. No, wait, no more room over there.
He has a motif. a pattern.
Got to keep fresh.
Like a lineup, man.
I mean, it's also, like a cemetery. So it looks like, he's like, there we go. In memoriam.
It has to be perfect.
Yeah.
But you say if he's been planning this shit since he was a kid, then God, like everything he does is so meticulous.
Yes.
And you have to, I mean, if nothing else, you got to get credit for that. And the fact that everybody played right into his hands. That's the cold part about it for me.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Man, my man's got game.
He got game and he got a brazy body count because in this episode, he murks Rhodey. Murks him. He murks Black Panther. He murks Tony Stark and he murks Ulysses Claw. I feel like he did this in like a 24-hour period. Like, I know more time passed, but I'm just like, he just did this. When I watched it again, I'm like, damn, this nigga just went hard in a very short period of time.
I mean, that was all within a week, I'd say, at most.
Yeah.
Because he murdered Claw, and then he goes on. No, Claw catches it last, right?
Claw catches last. He uses Claw as his key or his,
so Rhodey
his
and Black
offering to the door.
Panther Rhodey and T'Challa are like 5 minutes of each other. And then Tony is like maybe a day or two later.
Yeah.
At most 2 days later.
And it's done in such what's the word I'm looking for? It's just done in such
ruthless.
Ruthless type of way. And it's just cold. It's just cold. But it's also just like, damn, that dude's smart. Just how he did this. And you also you'll sit here forever thinking about the implications of what he's done. Not only does Iron Man not exist, which is technically that's not something he could have thought about down the line, but Iron Man doesn't exist. But now Black Panther's not there. Neither is Rhodey, which means there is no War Machine. So even if there was something in the future that would have made Rhodey become War Machine, that's not fucking happening. There's no Black Panther, which means there's no, the current prince and everything that's happened in the sacred timeline has not occurred. The only thing that hasn't really changed, Ulysses dying, because he also kills Ulysses in the film to basically get his way into Wakanda. So
yeah, my man's
Ulysses
a tool.
is the throwaway character. Right?
And no, I mean he has an absolute point in any universe.
He's supposed to die.
Yeah, he's a ticket. He's the golden ticket into Wakanda.
Well, because of his actions, Killmonger's actions against Black Panther, that means all that other shit that happens down the line doesn't happen, which also means T'Chaka doesn't die. T'Chaka
for
is
now.
not killed in the Sacred Timeline anyway. When he was killed, by was he? Well, he was framed to be killed by what's my boy, Winter Soldier. But I love Winter Soldier. I'm sorry, I just thought about him. But that never happens, right? T'Chaka's alive, and then he gets to live out his life. What is the implication of that? How come they're not grooming Shuri to be the next Black Panther? Yes, she's too young, but it's just it makes you think about stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
The death of Tony also results in the U.S. military, led by General Ross, in seizing control of Stark Industries of their assets, and then using the Patriot Act to put all of those Liberator drones into mass production. A drone that's based on Killmonger's fighting style and personal design, which they used to try to invade Wakanda.
Yep.
Again, go ahead.
Yeah, it's interesting about the drone is that it bears a resemblance to not only the anime, the Gundam, but also to the drones that Whiplash is his name, Ivan Drago.
Oh, Ivan Drago, yeah.
Yeah, in the second Iron Man film created with their heads having that same appearance.
Did you say Ivan Drago? Isn't that from Rocky?
Yeah, you're right. It's Ivan something.
But Ivan, yes.
Yeah, it's something like that. Whiplash, that's how I know him.
So also the different change, you see that Queen Ramonda is now general of the Wakandan army, and I just thought it was incredible to see her character in combat. We only see a little bit of it, but just the fact to see that Ramonda, voiced by Angela Bassett, actually like really putting in the work, I thought that was fire. I believe, and I was trying to figure out, why is she the general at this point? Was it due to her grief of losing T'Challa?
I just think she was a general before. Like, we got to remember,
Okay.
this is 5 or 6 years earlier, where she's still younger, still, and it seems that she's a former Dora Milaje, because also in the comics, the Dora Milaje are more like they accompany the Black Panther. And remember,
Yeah, they're his personal.
Yeah, his personal
team.
guard, etc. And so the T'Chaka is still younger at this point, where he was just Black Panther recently. So he was just Black Panther. His wife is the head of the door.
Mm-hmm.
Then they retire, become king and queen. Boom.
Okay.
Yeah.
We see Killmonger saving Okoye from the Liberator drone, which may end up having implications down the line if that timeline is allowed to continue, just about their personal relationship. We also see, as mentioned, Killmonger positions himself as savior with all of this. And again, what is his end game, at least in this timeline? Is just the end game still revenge no matter what? Because he does everything. In the film, he really does rightfully win in combat against T'Challa, and he is then crowned the new Black Panther, given a heart-shaped herb. In this one, he does it by at least appearing like he has huge allegiance to Wakanda. He fights for Wakanda, saves Wakanda, and then it's bestowed the mantle.
No. This man's out for revenge and will murder anyone to get in his path, just like it's always about.
Yeah.
Like we already talked about, this man, everything he said is fraud. And everything he said is to serve a purpose. It's not about Wakanda. And it never was. Even in Black Panther. That's the thing. Not much has changed about his character. Just like not much has changed about Tony's character. They're just on different paths. And his path isn't that different from the Black Panther film. The difference is Tony in this episode. That's the change. Killmonger is just like, he chose a different victim, a different way to get what he wanted. And that's what leads to this. But other than that, his path was set from when his dad gets killed.
Yeah. And after he is given that heart-shaped herb, I just find this hilarious, because I just come up with these voices in my head. But like, I thought it was interesting when Killmonger showed up to Ancestral Plane and he got to the tree with the Black Panthers. And here comes T'Challa, like, let me holler at you for a second, nephew. Or cousin at this point. And it's like, look, I know what the fuck you did, okay? But he tries to school him even on this plane. Like, it doesn't matter whether in life or death, your power has been unearned, and eventually he's going to get the best of you. And then we see him in the next few scenes, he's putting on the from the film, the classic Killmonger / Black Panther version of the suit. With the yellow, the Jaguar.
Yeah.
And what happens next?
More.
Just
More.
out war. But does he burn the planet at this point? Because I feel like Killmonger's the type that don't stop.
Yes. Killmonger said the sun will never set on the Wakandan Empire. That was his line. Which is it's a callback to the Japanese who said it'll never, and the Germans who said the sun will never set on the Fourth Reich. Like, that is a declaration of, get down or lay down. It's quiet for everyone if you got something to say. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's why it always actually, shout out to my boy Anthony. He hit me up and was like, yo, you're gonna hear more of that. Killmonger was right. And I'm just always like, yo, I don't know what movie y'all are watching where y'all thought this man was right.
I feel like this episode of What If really puts the point home that even if you think his stuff sounds good, he is so fucked up with his approach. Like, and to your point, Ben, like, if you thought Killmonger was right, watch this episode and maybe you'll feel differently. Or I honestly feel this is going to embolden those same people even more.
Definitely. Because people, because it sounds good, it's like.
It sounds sexy.
Yeah, it's like what, I don't want to just call Nas out, but, sometimes that man do be saying some shit that I'm like, what? A lot of rappers do that. And I'm like, man, it sounded good. Like, man, what do you talk about period blood drinking? I was like, what? Nas? Like, yeah, I mean, Nas said this on one mic.
Okay, please don't repeat that. Please.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he said. It's on one mic, a hit song. And I'm like, what are you talking about, Negro? But people just ignore it because I guess, whatever. A lot of rappers can't even spell, but that's a whole nother story. So, yeah, I get it why people love Killmonger. Because the first time I saw Black Panther, I walked out of there like, ooh. And then it was the second time I watched it when I really started getting the nuances of the film. And I was like, wow, Nakia is right. T'Challa's wrong. And he comes over to the right side. But even then, he's probably not doing near as enough as he should, like Nakia would want, and as and when you're in that position of power, which you should be doing other than buying a school, like, wow. Thanks, John. Anyway, I bought that building. I'm a capitalist. Yeah, okay, yeah. But
in their Bugatti spaceship.
Yeah, in their Bugatti spaceship. I bought that building and that one. It all sounds good at first, but when you sit there and
Ben,
think
you
about
gotta start. All right, this is coming from a xenophobic nation that would never step 2 centimeters outside of their shield, and now for the first time they're interacting with the outside world. Really, so.
And
I mean, are they supposed to have just complete and other like? If they were going to change that drastically, it would have been on the Killmonger type levels. Like it would have to be some type of outside force to push them to go further than buying a couple of things. I just want to give them the benefit of the doubt that, they're going to do more.
Yeah. And I think I've heard or seen somewhere, I'm not sure, but and just also the way the MCU is being played, that we're really going to see the effects of Wakandan tech in like normal society coming up in the MCU.
And Black Panther 2?
In Black Panther 2, and then just through the rest of the MCU, I think you're going to see that influence because Ironheart, as we said, is going to be in Black Panther 2. So she's clearly going to have some Tony influence and some Wakandan influence. So we're going to see this effect. Like, maybe Riri went to that school in this universe.
Oh.
But she's from Chicago and not Oakland, so I don't know.
Well, maybe they expanded.
She's a transfer student.
They're expanded across the country. They some charter schools.
Yep, there you go. Yeah.
Wakanda School for the Arts or some shit like that.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens.
The Black Panther heart-shaped herb, university type shit.
Yes.
So,
shout out to the Bozeman School of Fine Arts.
Yeah. HU? All right. Couldn't get out of y'all couldn't get out of this without us saying HU.
You know that one. Not today. Not with the brother in the episode.
Nah. Speaking of, let's talk about the characters, Ben. We have, of course, the Watcher, voiced by Jeffrey Wright. An observation that you've shared with me. You want to talk about that, Ben?
Oh yeah, that he seems to be becoming more corporeal. His body seems to be forming up more and more in every episode as we go along. Like from the ghost-like form, the space nebula form that we saw, and then we still see in the opening credits. So in this episode, we finally actually see like damn near the comic version of the Watcher, where he's got the toga on, the blue sash, styling and profiling, and you really start to see him. So the idea might be that he's becoming more and more until he's going to eventually interfere in one, or maybe create that multiversal Avengers that we've been seeing hints at in the trailers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, something's gonna happen. Because the Watcher in the comics cannot, cannot keep his hands out of the cookie jar, boy. It's like that man eventually starts interfering.
And he just looked particularly disturbed this episode. Let me just say, and maybe because he's more corporeal, you can really see his facial expressions is very clear. He just seemed to be super disturbed, like he wanted to jump in that bitch and change shit. Like, but
but
he has a
they
mandate.
probably wouldn't have listened anyway.
Also, we have Killmonger, who is voiced by Michael B. Jordan himself. Listen, he was Killmonger. he just embodied that same character all over again. I know there was a happy time for people who were mad that he died or want him to come back and all this other stuff.
I want him to come back,
Sure.
Yeah.
Because he was a good villain, if you will. So
yeah, and he's an incredible actor, as we've seen, and he's killing it in this role. And I just love how, his music would drop whenever it got really tight. The Killmonger music started popping.
Yes.
I love that. That was
John
great.
Favreau returns as Happy Hogan.
Yeah.
He caught the bad one last episode. Now he's back to just be ignored.
I also love. I love that Killmonger when he murdered Claw. As soon as my man called him a boy, I was like, "Oh, that's it for you."
I was like, "You're done,
Rapsty. You're not getting out of this scene."
So you saw that eyebrow go up.
Yeah.
That was Dr. Umar shit. He was just like, "What did you say to me, Yakubian?" Like he just immediately was done with him.
Yeah. I don't need you anymore anyway, but that just sealed the deal.
Don Cheadle returns as Rhodey. Rhodey is Rhodey this episode. He says his Rhodeyisms. You got to be part of the system to change the system, son.
Ooh, yeah. It was quiet for him, and I was at.
Once again, these people saying this wild shit that makes notice. It's always a line somebody says, and then Killmonger says the fuck, and then murks them. So,
in the immortal words of Bucky, I should be sad, but I'm not.
But I'm not.
Like, no. As soon as you said that line, dog, I was like, yeah. Nah, burn it all down. I was rolling with Killmonger right there on that one.
Sincere shakes his head.
Killmonger had some points.
He had some points. Paul Bettany reprises his voice as Jarvis. Funny story about Paul Bettany. I saw this. I believe it was in like a Disney short or whatever, or Marvel, same people short. That he was chosen, or the person who directed the first Iron Man film chose him as the voice because he felt his voice was boring. He felt Paul's voice was monotonous and boring, and then he had the British accent, so he was just like, "Hey, yo, let's use you for Jarvis." So
wow. Now, he's now been in the MCU for 3 decades.
Oh shit, you're right.
Yeah.
God damn. 3 decades. Wait a minute.
Yeah, because he was in
Iron Man was 2008.
Yep. So 2008, 2000. Every decade since. Still rolling.
Andy Serkis reprises his voice as Ulysses Claw for a brief moment in time because he gets clapped.
Yeah, he was
with the rest of them.
He was amazing as always, man. That hurt me that they murdered Claw even in the first one.
Really? You thought he was gonna have a larger role?
And I just liked him as it,
I do like him.
I made it rain.
He's just mischievous and stupid. Like I like him.
And the comics people know Claw, he actually eventually turns into a being of sound. And does yeah, man. He has
interesting.
Yeah, like if something happens to him, because he usually has a sound gun. That's the thing. Like that's how he killed which I think is what
So that's what Killmonger used to kill Black Panther.
A variation,
not sound, but a sonic kind of.
Yeah, so pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
And then something happens with that where it turns him into sound, and he's like this red dressed supervillain who goes through all kind of wild stuff. Like not just with Black Panther, but all kind of he had an ill fight with Daredevil. At one point, Dr. Doom chops his body up into slices so he can use him to steal the Beyonder's powers. Look, comic books.
This is a lot of LSD.
Yeah, and Claw's just a dope character, so I thought he would be around longer, and then Andy was killing it. So for them just to murk him kind of hurt me.
Yeah. Andy Serkis is just incredible. Like from just everything.
From
everything. My precious.
He's directing the new Venom.
Oh, you serious?
Yeah, he's the director. So there's
hope. Okay. Rest in power, rest in peace. We love you always. Chadwick Boseman reprises his role to T'Challa Black Panther. I really love how many episodes we've already been given, really, to be able to hear Chadwick's voice. I hope he's in many more to come. I don't know. We do know, for example, this first season of What If is 9 episodes. Another 9 episodes had already been ordered for season 2. They're already working on it. Again, maybe might be some throwaway or some pre-recorded stuff they could use, because I just feel like I didn't realize Chadwick had recorded so much, or even this, what we've seen so far. I didn't realize he was showing up this much.
Yeah, they said 4 episodes, and I think we might have seen all 4, right? Because he did the zombie, he did Star-Lord.
He did Zombie, he did Star-Lord.
He did this one.
He did this one, so.
That's it?
Yep. One more?
One more?
Hopefully.
I'm really
praying.
Yeah, I'm praying. And like I said, I want to see that cowboy T'Challa, like, so bad.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. John Kanai returns, vocally anyway, as T'Chaka, T'Challa's daddy, his daddy. Denai Gurira returns as Okoye. She has a few lines there. And like I said, I was really happy to hear and confirm that Angela Bassett returned to voice Queen Ramonda. Funny enough, RDJ did not voice Tony Stark, even though the actor that did the voice, Mick Wingert, did a damn fine job of mimicking the whole Tony Stark voice that RDJ does.
He's been doing Tony for like years in every medium, like animation and video games. So he's
so that's why he just still sounded like, usually when other actors do these voices, you can tell there's a difference. It was very difficult to discern. So
probably for as long as Robert, or maybe even longer, because he's been doing it like for a long time. All the animation, all the video games, it's usually him.
Okay. Letitia Wright was not the voice of Shuri. It was actually an actor. I just had her name, is an actor named Ozioma Akaga.
Okay.
Black woman. And I'm just looking at her because I just wanted to look at her profile right now just to see if there was some additional things that she's done that we're aware of. But again, this is just a aged down version of Shuri. So it's not quite the Shuri you know. And then also going forward, are we still going to see Letitia? Like, has she signed on for additional films? Or is her, the stuff she's said recently, has that affected anything?
I mean, she ain't done $2, did she? I don't think.
No, but
it's like I'm Christian and I'm hardcore with it. There's like a lot of that's like a lot of America, so that might work out for them.
Well, I don't know if she signed on for additional films. If she has, we'll see her in the BP too. All right,
they cannot get rid of Shuri.
No, they're not going to get rid of Shuri.
They cannot oh Jesus! I mean, then the people be like, "Why didn't you recast T'Challa?"
But they're going to eventually.
I don't think so.
You think T'Challa is never coming back in any, or T'Challa?
Yeah, I just don't see the point. There's too many other characters.
That's what my argument always was. But Disney, Marvel, they do what they want.
And then it'd be so tough for somebody to do better than Chadwick or to live up to that.
To live up, I don't want to say better, but live up is a great.
It'd be like recasting
point.
Robert Downey Jr. Like, what's the point?
How are you going to live up to that?
Yeah, what's the point? This man lived it. Now Chadwick didn't get near as many appearances, but he did get enough appearances, even in the main MCU, where he lived. Like, he is Black Panther to generations now. So that's like, why would you?
Why would you tarnish that?
Yeah,
in a sense, yeah.
Especially for Marvel, who's shown to be so smart and willing to do something like kill Robert Downey Jr.'s character when they could have just given him another $100 million and kept it rolling.
Another 100 years.
Yep, for as long as they could. But they're
like, the MCU don't stop.
We know that we have other stuff. They've got Oscar Isaac coming as Moon Knight. They're not stressing.
You're right. They're absolutely not stressing over. They will not. MCU will not rest, okay? The devil works hard, but the MCU works harder when it comes to putting every motherfucker in Hollywood in an MCU film.
And I know we love Chadwick, that's HU, that's my family, but I also do not want to see somebody else be like, oh, I'm T'Challa now. What?
In the next 5 years, we're going to be in an MCU film, Ben. I'm calling it right now, putting it out in the universe. We're going to show up whether it's a quick cameo, you're gonna see Ben's locks, in the corner, something like that. We're gonna be in the film, y'all. I'm telling you. We're gonna walk down the street, gonna be extras, something.
I just want to write and produce one. That's more than being in one to me. That's my goal. 5 years. I got that on my wish list. Like
You got it.
I'm much rather that than be in it, folks.
You got it.
Cameos don't
I
pay
want
the
it
bills.
all. I want it all. In the words of Killmongers, I want it all.
True indeed.
All right. Rounding out our review, we have our Easter eggs, inspiration, and music.
Mm-hmm.
After Black Panther is unfortunately, catches the true death, he is returned to Wakanda by the Dora, and they take him home. They take him to glory in a floating Wakandan casket, which has beautiful Wakandan language inscription on it, which translates to Wakanda forever in the big center part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, again, sad. I was like, damn, we ain't had to see that, but we had to see that.
And especially with the new Black Panther film being called Wakanda Forever, that really, yeah,
that hurts when breathe.
I mean,
Yeah. You mentioned already, Ben, anytime Killmonger was Killmongering, his theme music came up from Black Panther.
Tony was like, oh yeah, that name works. Like, you out here murdering.
When Black Panther was panthering, his theme music came up. Dora shit came up. Like when they was fighting, when the tribe was fighting.
Yeah.
The choop, all that shit was going on. What else, Ben? I'm looking at your note here. What did they do?
Oh my God. Any Wire reference ever is something that I love. And when Killmonger and Tony at the bar, they cheered. They came at the king and they missed, which is gotta be because for fans of The Wire, no, Michael B. Jordan was also on The Wire.
As a kid.
Where's Wallace?
Oh.
Still hurts. But that line is by Omar, the legend, who was played by Michael K. Williams. Rest in peace, rest in power. And one of Omar's classic Omarisms is "Come at the King, best not miss." And they came at the king and they missed. So that was that was like
the layers, the flavor.
I know that reference.
I know that. I like the what is that? The meme, the Captain America meme.
Yeah.
Get off of me! I know that reference.
I understood that reference. No, yeah,
I understood that reference.
Yeah, no, that's the other one. Get off me! I gotta tell him I understood that reference.
Also, when Killmonger had sent or shared his mecha plan with Tony, and Tony's looking at it, and Killmonger says, "What? I like anime." Obviously a shout out to anime, but also the Project Liberator. When I saw that, I'm like, "Oh my God, it's a giant mecha!" And I got all fucking excited because I'm an anime geek. I'm a weeb. Michael B. Jordan is actually known to be a big anime fan. Naruto is one of his favorite animes, along with many others. The typical DBZ, all that stuff. But he likes a few other items. I think he likes Hunter x Hunter. It's also, there was a Gundam shout out by Tony. When he said, well, if this shit doesn't work in terms of the Project Liberator, he said, worst case, we'll end up with the world's most expensive Gundam.
And it actually resembled a specific Gundam. I don't know the names of that one, but it's actually like super close to a specific one. And also, I saw this pointed out. I think somebody pointed this out before, but I saw it again recently with Killmonger coming back around, that his suit is reminiscent of Vegeta from DBZ is absolutely and Vegeta is crown prince of all things. Okay. So yeah.
As he likes to repeat every fucking day. So
well, I feel like even in the first Black Panther film, that was definitely an inspiration for Killmonger's outfit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And also just thinking about, like, when you think about Gundam, like it's just heavily about politics, about social political issues. So for that idea of Gundam to be then in some ways infused into this episode, I thought was also fairly clever too. Yeah.
Very much so.
Any other notes or mentions you want to make about this episode, Ben?
No, other than that, like we talked about this, is why does Killmonger get away with so much stuff? And also one of the big things that why he does is because Tony's ego is, like Killmonger does everything for one reason. Tony does a lot of things because of his ego. He believes that he is the one who can save the world. He's the one. So that's why he builds Ultron. And also Tony, like Killmonger knows these things about Tony, like he studied him. Like he knows that Tony's a tinkerer. So he knows that all I got to do is show Tony this model and he's going to immediately want to build it because that's what Tony does. You know, Tony built Ultron just to show that he could.
Just because it was just like, what would he was just like, oh, you want that? You saved my life. I got you. I'm like, that's a little fast. That's a little.
I mean,
what was the
Tony
thinking?
says he's done making Iron Man suits and then builds 50 of them in Iron Man 3. You know, this is what he does. Like, he just cannot stop, building things.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, we are done building our review of episode 6 of What If. Again, what if Killmonger rescued Tony Stark? Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Appreciate your time and your love and your support and your energy. The chat went off per usual. Thank you. Twitch.tv/forallnerds. You join us every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern to be in the mix, and we appreciate and salute you. Make sure if you can that, well, first of all, you have to follow us to even talk in the chat. Following is free. Make sure you do that. But also, if you have the means, you can subscribe to us on Twitch. When you do that, you get access to our special, emojis? What is it called? Emojis or something else?
Yeah, the emojis on Twitch. Yep.
You get special access to that and other perks. If you have Amazon Prime, you can actually link your Amazon Prime account with your Twitch account and get a free subscription every month. That means every month you have to re-up and choose the channel you want to subscribe to. Please let that channel be For All Nerds. We appreciate it. Again, twitch.tv/forallnerds. Make sure you are subscribed or followed us on your favorite podcast platform. Follow For All Nerds in order to listen to Views from the 616, the Blackest MCU podcast. Make sure you are getting that tagline on the back of your, what is this? Views from the 616 tee, like you see that I'm wearing here, that you would be seeing if you're on the Twitch. You can get that if you go to our TeePublic, tpublic.com/stores with an S/forallnerds. You get to choose all sorts of stupendous, amazing designs there and put it on a variety of items, shirts, mugs, books, pillows, whatever you like. You can get it. Masks. Let's do it there. Benami has on the beautiful, would you like to F around and find out, Miss Minutes shirt. I love that. I have the same one. Also, we released our brand new Wong Was Right tee last week. That smooth flavor of Wong walking out the door, because he's always right. Make sure you get that tee as well. Shout out to everyone who already picked that up. We saw the sales going on there. I picked mine up, so probably the next time you see me, hopefully I will have my shirt. I'm so excited.
Next week, we should both be in ours.
Oh, my God. I really hope. Also, thank you to everyone there. Thank you to everyone on our Patreon, patreon.com/forallnerds. You guys are our lifeline. Thank you so, so much for everything you do for us financially. You are the key and will help us pay everyone who's on the For All Nerds team, from our engineer, shout out Luna, to our social media manager, shout out Chica. We love you both. We love you much. Shout out to Uncolor Page, our video game editor, who also streams on our Twitch channel. Everything you do on the Patreon supports this show and supports everything that, like, even things we're going to, like, we're going to be going to New York Comic Con soon, and you all are helping to make stuff like that possible. Every tier has special privileges, so make sure that you choose the one that works best for you, and you guys get special, some special guarantees there. So make sure that you are there, and also follow us on the socials at For All Nerds, at Views from 616. And then myself at Tatiana King, and this guy right here with the shades at DJ Ben Hameen. Sir, have I forgotten anything?
Just our newest addition to our social media empire, our TikTok. Make sure you are following us on TikTok at For All Nerds. Tatiana has videos that are now the #1 video on our channel. The secret weapon is shining. So make sure you follow us and encourage her to do more.
I will do more. Oh, we're going to be doing Comments I Copped on there.
Yes, we're going to be doing Comments I Copped and our new series, Spider-Man.
Can't wait.
Enemies, the nice, legendary.